ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. One of the narratives in the Bible tells us the following, that Jacob has run away from home because his brother wants to kill him. Why does his brother want to kill him? Because he did several things against his brother. He exchanged birthright for lentil soup. He stole the blessing of the father. He went to work for Lavan, his uncle. He worked there for 20 years. And then his uncle didn't treat him right. He runs away from there. Eventually, he's going to meet his brother Esav again after 20 years. And he has, according to the Bible, the story in the Bible, the night before, he fights with a man. There's a struggle with a man. Who this man is, we don't know. And our rabbis say maybe it was the angel of this Esav, of his brother, that came to weaken him before the encounter the following day, because Esav came to meet him with 400 people. This was obviously going to be some kind of confrontation. Others say no, that it was the angel of Jacob himself who came to train him for the fight of the following day. Some even say there was nobody. This was Jacob with himself. He fought with himself. He had to come to some conclusion. He cannot run the rest of his life. Now he's got to settle down. He's got to face reality, and that's it. Enough running around. There must come a time when you must face what is really the world in which you live, and you can't run away from it. Well, so he came back. And that's what he did. So his brother, instead of fighting with him, embraced him, after all, they're brothers. And he said, why don't you come with me? Jacob said, no, I don't want to go. I have too many wives, cattle, and so on. No good. Let's each go our way. And Yaakov went to a place called Shechem, and he arrived there shalem, wholesome. In other words, why wholesome? Our rabbis say the following, He arrived wholesome because, notwithstanding that he fought with that man the night before, and according to the story in the Bible, he was hurt in his hip. He came already cured. Physically, he came once again complete, cured, no problem. He also came complete in the following sense. He had given his brother a lot of gifts in order to find favor in his eyes, cattle and God knows what. And he recovered from all the gifts that he had given. Economically, he was once again shalem. He was wholesome once again. And finally, notwithstanding that he lived with this Lavan, his uncle, for 20 years, and he was an idol worshiper, spiritually he was shalem. He came back complete after meeting all this. And I was thinking to myself, what do you mean? What can we learn from this? He was hurt by this man and he became well again. I think that each time that we have to confront some kind of illness, some kind of defeat in life, and if we overcome it, it's not that we are cured. We become complete. We are better than we were before. Each experience makes you grow up. The Torah never says about Jacob that he was shalem. It says before he was ishtam, yoshev ohalim. He was a fellow, simple fellow, sitting at home. Shalem, which means complete. Nothing missing. Shalom is a great word. It comes from the same thing. Everything is fine. That only you attain from experiences in life. When you're hurt and you overcome it, you grow and you can become shalem. I was a rabbi for many years in the city of New York and in Venezuela. When I came to New York, we had no synagogue. We had to build a synagogue. I was very involved. Also in Venezuela, the synagogue was empty. We had to furnish it, then we had to build schools. I was very involved in fundraising. And I became a master at it. I knew how to get the good side of people in order that they should contribute to the synagogue. In all my experience, and it's an experience of many, many years, I don't want to mention how many years, I never met a person that became poorer because he gave. You may become poorer because you made a bad investment. Maybe because your business failed. But from giving to a good cause, from helping somebody else, you never become poor. So maybe you become shalem really after you cooperate. You give of yourself. You have to know, why do you have wealth in this world? You need certain things, but also you have to distribute it. You have to know how to share it. In Spanish there's a word, compartir, which you can say partir, means to sever it in half. You have to give part of yourself, you have to give to somebody else. So Yaakov became shalem because he gave gifts, because by giving you eventually always receive. And finally it says that he was shalem spiritually, notwithstanding that he lived with Lavan for 20 years, he was still able to observe the moral dictums that he learned in the home of his parents. Our rabbis say, Im Lavan Garti, I lived with Lavan. The word Garti is the same as Taryag. Numerically it means 613. There are 613 mitzvot. I lived with Lavan, but I observed the 613 mitzvot. And it reminded me, we live in a very large world. We live in a society that has many manifestations, different cultures, different ways, different mores. How can you retain your own values in this situation? You have to have a lot of fortitude. You have to study. You have to be loyal to the teachings of your ancestors. There are those, for instance, in the Jewish world, certain sects of Hasidim that live apart. They have no television, no internet. They don't want to mix with the rest of the world because they think there are evil influences around them. But most of us live in both worlds. We live in our Jewish world. We live in our home world. We live in the general world. We live in the Greek world, in the Latin world, what everybody has taught us throughout the ages. The important thing is to know how to retain your own identity. While you live in a world with different influences, don't forget what are really the bases of the morals and the ethics that you received from the sacred scriptures, from your ancestors, especially from your parents. And if you are true to that, you will become shalem. Shalem means wholesome. I think that those that are exposed to different cultures and retain their own identity are really richer and become more complete because they understand their own values much better. Remember, if you want to be shalem, you have to do several things. You have to be able to cooperate with others. You have to be able to give to others, and you will be shalem. And if you have a bad experience, you learn from it, you become more shalem. And if you look at other cultures and retain your own identity, you will become even more shalem in your own identity.